What's good? It's your boy Jay, that's me. Let's get into AEW Dynamite from June the 5th, 2024. This show was an absolute travesty. It sucked. It was a train wreck. MJF and Chris Jericho saved this miserable waste of a 2-hour show. This show sucked. So kudos to MJF and Chris Jericho for holding down the fort. So we kick the show off with MJF. He comes out, he gets on the mic. He talks about being back and having new merch out. He then talks about being at home, sitting and watching what's going down. And then he plugged in Forbidden Door. Because it's going to be in Long Island, New York. And then he talks about the changes that the Elite have made to the show and everything else. Then he goes after Okada, saying that he needs a gym membership or something like that. And then MJF goes after Swerve. MJF says that he was offended by Swerve, calling himself a business mogul, saying he either didn't go to business school or he missed courses in public speaking. MJF said, however, the most offensive thing was when he saw Will Ospreay calling himself the best in the world. So MJF runs down the list of guys that he beat when he had his run as AEW World Champion. He mentioned, Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and others. And he reminded everyone that Max beat each and every one of them before saying that he's the best in the world. So MJF goes on to say that he has been the face of AEW for the last 5 years. He's had the best matches, interviews, and moments in the company. He went from being the most hated man in the company to being the most beloved. He listened back home as people tried to smear his name. And then Roosh came out. Roosh said that MJF is much like these fans, the fact that he never shuts up. So, Roosh said the reason why he didn't like MJF is because when he was out grinding and winning matches, MJF comes back to a celebration, whereas Roosh's celebration, Roosh feels like he deserves that spotlight, and he's going to take it. So, him and MJF have some more choice words of each other, and MJF says that the Elite, they made things worse, and then MJF says some stuff to Roosh in Spanish, and then they have a fight scene, a brawl scene, which is fine. I like this. Really good stuff here. So MJF is putting the locker room on notice, which I love. So this is really good shit here. This match hopefully will take place at Forbidden Door. This makes the most sense. I doubt if MJF will face a random New Japan guy or a random CMLL guy. I think MJF versus Roosh is fine at Forbidden Door, and it makes a lot of sense. Moving on. So, we get a video package at Roderick Strong. He's climbing some mountain, and he's going to be challenging Swerve for the World Heavyweight Championship in the main event. Oh, happy, joy, joy. Not really. Oh my God, this shit sucks. Oof, this shit sucks. How did Roderick Strong get involved in this? I have no idea. Either he did some shit on Rampage or Collision. I have no idea. One of the two. I don't give a damn. Moving on. First match of the night. It was a fatal 4-way. Orange Cassidy versus Kyle O'Reilly versus Jay Lethal versus Rey Fenix. The winner faces Will Ospreay next week for the International Championship. Rey Fenix gets the win. Who really cares? I mean, this is fine. Will Ospreay versus Rey Fenix should be fun next week. So, post-match, Don Callis and Trent Beretta, they're worthless asses. They come out. And they start to chase after Orange Cassidy. Chris Statlander comes out, and she smacks the shit out of Orange Cassidy. Will Nightingale comes out to make the save, and it looks like they're setting up a mixed tag, which will probably either happen at Forbidden Door or either next week on Dynamite, maybe. That's fine. So, Orange Cassidy and Will Nightingale versus Chris Statlander and Trent Beretta, that should be okay. I'm fans of Chris Statlander and Will Nightingale. I don't give a fuck about Orange Cassidy or Trent Beretta. Who gives a fuck about those two guys? It's actually time for Orange Cassidy to be a backstage producer. Same thing goes for Trent Beretta. Get those guys off our television. Please, Tony. Moving on. So, Chris Jericho, he's in the arena along with W. Morrissey and Brian Keefe. So, he's offering driving advice to a guy who dropped him off. And he's giving some tips to the cameraman. This was great. I love this. This was great. This was great. Real good comedic shit. Loved it. Loved it. This is gold. How can you hate this? This is gold. Moving on. So, Renee Paquette, she's backstage. She talks to Will Nightingale. She addresses losing to Mercedes Moné. She turns her attention to Stokely Hathaway and Chris Statlander. Willow says that after Chris Statlander stabbed her in the back, you don't know how dangerous her smile can be. And then Orange Cassidy comes into play. He gives a fist bump to Willow Nightingale. So that's fine. This makes sense. Moving on. Christopher Daniels' worthless ass comes out. He talks about the TNT Championship ladder match. There's going to be some more qualifying matches. Who gives a damn? And they're going to have another one right here, right now. So this leads us into Mark Briscoe defeating Brian Cage. Mark Briscoe is the ROH World Heavyweight Champion. Okay. Not really all that important. So Mark gets the win. This is fine. Brian Cage is useless. Absolutely useless. He sucks. Moving on. So, Jack Perry is backstage. He mocks Mark Briscoe, saying that the universe already chose him to be the new TNT champion. So, this is fine. This makes sense. Moving on. So, Renee Paquette is backstage with Samoa Joe and Hook. So, Joe wants to be Hook's mentor, basically, before Tony Nese comes out and interrupts to run Hook down. Samoa Joe keeps Hook away from Tony Nese and Ari Daivari, saying losers like them don't talk to winners like us unless they get away with it. Why don't we have Tony Nese and Ari Daivari on TNA? Like, that's where they should be. Come on, man. For real. There are so many guys that could be in their spots. Miro being one. The House of Black being another. Again, there's injuries up and down AEW. And you need real guys to step up. Not these fucking jobbers. Moving on. So Chris Jericho and the rest of the Learning Tree, they had some advice for the 2.0 guys, which is Matt Bernard and Cool Hand Ange. So Chris Jericho gives Matt Bernard some advice on commentary, and Chris Jericho gives Cool Hand Ange some advice on parenting. This is great. I love this. Chris Jericho says that he's been a father 3 times and everything else. This is great. Good shit. I love this. This is great. This is great. Moving on. What is not great is the Acclaim. It's time for them to drop this gimmick and move on. Like, seriously. They've been doing this shit for 5 years now. So, the Acclaim, they're about to start a rap about the Young Bucks. The EVPs, they cut their segment short, telling them that the segment's been cut since they have disparaged Nicholas and Matthew. So the Acclaim's mics, they're cut short, and they can't respond. So, again, this is a waste of fucking time. Moving on. Swerve is backstage with Renee Paquette, who addresses MJF before saying the contract for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship match will be sent to Will Ospreay. He then talks about the Young Bucks and how Team AEW shouldn't forget the World Champion next time. Okay, that's fine. Moving on, Mercedes Moné, she and Stephanie Vega had a vignette, a video package ahead of their title match at Forbidden Door. This is fine. So Mercedes is going to basically be a double champion. Alright, got you. Cool. Do I care? Don't really give one iota of a fuck. But this is fine, I guess. This is fine. You know, Mercedes looks up to the Japanese women as superheroes. Okay, that's kind of weird and odd, but I don't know. Moving on. So the Blackpool Combat Club, they're back. Willie Yuta made his return. He was out with an injury for 6 months. They defeat 4 guys from CMLL. I don't even give a fuck about this. This is an absolute waste of time. I don't give a damn about this shit. Moving on. So Chris Jericho is backstage again. He offers a stagehand some dining tips at catering on how to properly fill one's plate. This is great. I love this, man. This is such good shit. This is great. This is golden. I love this, man. I love what Chris Jericho's doing here. I love it. He's doing the Young Bucks gimmick, but extremely well. Very, very well. And I love it. This is amazing. Definitely good quality television. Moving on. So we get a video package talking about Daniel Garcia for whatever reason. He said that he talks about the risk that he needs to take for himself, which include the challenge that was laid out to Will Ospreay for the AEW International Championship. Who gives a shit? Moving on. The Acclaim, they're backstage confronting the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks just ignore them. Moving on, speaking of the Young Bucks, so they're trying to conduct business with Christian Cage. So Christian Cage is angry about what went down at Double or Nothing and asked the Young Bucks for another shot at the world title. Matthew says that after last week, they realized they can't just hand titles or title shots, but they're willing to help Christian Cage out as best they can. Christian Cage is asked what's his shoe size, and then he said size 12, and then they bounce out. Okay, this is fine. Moving on, so Soraya defeats Mariah May, and post-match, Mariah May's stardom buddy is, what's old girl's name? Shit, I can't think of her damn name. Mina Shirakawa. She showed up, so that was great. They had a little kiss on the cheek, that being Mariah May and Mina, which is fine. That was great. And then Toni Storm, she pulls them both into her titties, and that was amazing. Yes, more of this. Please, more of this. This is absolutely great. Moving on. So Chris Jericho gives some more advice to Private Party. He gives them some advice about opening up their party to everyone. And in W. Morris, he says that who needs the advice the most, don't take it. And then Chris Jericho invites them to TV time with the Loading Tree next week. And then Private Party while the learning tree walk off, they mock the learning tree for whatever reason. I have no idea why. Next week should be fun involving this. This is great. I like this. Moving on. So, Bryan Danielson, he gives Wheeler Yuta kudos for his performance tonight about winning the 8-man tag. So, Bryan Danielson then addresses his final year of full-time competition and how it hasn't gone his way after losing some big matches. The straw that broke the camel's back was losing Anarchy in the arena, and talking to Wheeler Yuta reminded him that his final year is not over yet. And Danielson basically vows to win the Owen Hart Cup, which is great. This is fine. I'm all for this. We'll see how this goes. Maybe the finals could see Will Ospreay versus Danielson in the finals. Maybe that could happen. That would be great. Do I think Danielson will win? Probably not, but Danielson does need some major wins and stuff. He's just taken tons of losses, and Bryan Danielson, for the last 3 years, has been in AEW. He's not really done much of anything. He's lost a bunch of matches and a bunch of big feuds, and hopefully they can do right by this, because Bryan Danielson deserves better. I mean, I get that, he's going to probably transition into a backstage producer role and maybe just do, maybe wrestle part-time. Maybe, we see him at AEW's Big Four. But outside of that, he'll just be doing backstage stuff. So it's interesting. I like this. We'll see where it leads. Moving on. So the main event, Swerve Strickland defeats Roderick Strong via the house call. And he retains the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. I don't give a single fuck about this match. I don't. And y'all's boy, Will Ospreay, he decided to take time off because why? He pulled double duty last week. He had to wrestle on Collision, and then he also wrestled on Dynamite. So I guess he couldn't take it. And I'm just like, this is pathetic. Come on. You only literally work one time a week and you can't handle this? Collision is just another extension of Rampage. You're still just working one time a week. I don't get it, man. But this is AEW. So, Ricky Starks was talked about by Tony Khan. Tony Khan says that he would love to have Ricky Starks on television and all that, but Tony Khan doesn't know what he's doing. Tony Khan should have plans for Ricky Starks, but he doesn't. Tony Khan's the guy who books the shows. Tony Khan's the guy who writes the shows. I don't know why you don't have I don't know why you have Ricky Starks not on television, but at least have him on television to do something. It sucks, but it is what it is. Again, this is Tony Khan. Tony Khan has the keys to change all this. Ricky Starks should be on television. Same thing with House of Black. Again, the problem with AEW, they have a lot of injuries right now. And they need guys like Miro, House of Black, Ricky Starks, and so many other guys and girls to step up. Where's Deonna Purrazzo? You just brought her in, 2.5 months ago. Where is she? She's doing jobs on Collision. She's doing jobs on Rampage. She needs to be on Dynamite. I don't get it. But your guess is as good as mine. This show was shitty outside of MJF and Chris Jericho. But what did you guys think of Dynamite? Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.